And welcome to another Minecraft Let's Play video and another video inside of Callum's Epic World. And in today's video is my Halloween special. Let's go! To be honest, hopefully this goes better than last year's, but yeah, who cares? We're joined by Andrew, Elliot, Sonic, Tails and Knuckles. Wow. Hello. Yeah, Andrew's been a while since you're in Epic World, only because I've been recording ahead recently, so, you know. Welcome back, bud. And Elliot, again, it's been a while since I've seen you as well, so welcome back. Yo.
Yes, my friend.
Okay, I really know what we got planned. I know, like, Andrew, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, I was doing some of those, and Elliot's in the background, just in case you were wondering. Right, hi, Luke. What the frick are you doing? Alright. What the frick is he doing? Look, he's on the chest. Hi, Elliot. Seriously, look, again? Oh my. Why do you nudge him off his seat? That's really annoying. Come on. That's good. I'll just sort you out later. Got my breakfast. Nom. Even though it's technically at midnight by now, but I personally I don't really know why it's at midnight for some reason. It took a bit of a later start to this. Right. Hey, Ruben. What the frick are you doing? Sniffing an anvil. Alright, cool. Alright, let's go outside and oh, damn! What the hell? Hi, Gollum. Guys, what the hell are you doing outside? Do you know you could just walk in? Oh, yeah. Man. Guys, you could just come inside. You don't have to wait outside. What the hell?
Hello.
Yo. What's up, Gollum? What's up, Tails? Right. What the frick are you guys doing outside? The hell? Why we just went outside for? You could just come for... Alright, what do you want to say? If you...
Well, it wasn't my idea, but it was Sonic's, I cannot forget, so...
And did you think I would remember that? Andrew, do you really think I would remember that? Alright, so what do you think we should do it, guys, instead? Maybe we should, tell stories. Oh, good idea, Knuckles. Because I really couldn't think of anything to do this year, so... Alright, let's go upstairs. Don't put this out of context. Please don't. Alright. Does Sonic even know where he's going? He's a bit blind. He's a blind hedgehog. Where is he? Hold on, let's try redirect him upstairs. Where's Sonic? Where is he? There he is. So try and drag him upstairs. Right. Bloody hell, Sonic. Up you come. No. Right foot, left foot. I know that. He can't even make up the stairs. Hold on. No. Come on, Sonic. You nearly there. Hey, nice one. Hold on, Andrew, you can go through there. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure those doors are closed. Right. Tails, Knuckles, you can come up as well. And then, well, you guys could just settle down in these beds, I guess. I know. That's my bed. The bed upstairs is my bed, so if you're not allowed to touch that. These are guest beds, so where's Tails? I'm coming. Alright. So what story should I read first? I'll read them to you guys, and you say I can't read. Like, you guys just get snuggle in bed, I guess.
Okay.
You guys get a bit snug, and then I'll tell you this. What story should I read first? I think I'll read you the story of Deadbot called What the Hell's That?
Okay.
It's a creepypasta that of The Simpsons. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so, well, pretty much what is going to happen now is I'm going to have like a still image or something of like the actual creepypasta while I read it to you guys, and then yeah, we'll come back after I've read it. So yeah, are you guys ready? Yep. Alright, you ready?
Yeah.
Right, let's do it. Right, I'll see you guys in just 1 second.
You know how Fox has a weird way of counting Simpsons episodes? They refuse to count a couple of them, making the amount of episodes inconsistent. The reason for this is the lost episode from season 1. Finding the answers about this missing episode is difficult. No one who was working on the show at the time liked to talk about it. From what has been pieced together, the lost episode was written entirely by Matt Groening during production of the first season. Matt started to act strangely. He was very quiet, seemed nervous and morbid. Mentioning this to anyone who was present results in them getting very angry and forbidding you to ever mention it to Matt. The episode's production number was 7G44. The title was dead Bart. In addition to getting angry, asking anyone who's on the show about this will cause them to do everything they can to stop you from directly communicating with Matt Groening. At a fan event, I managed to follow him after he spoke to the crowd, and eventually I had a chance to talk to him alone. As he was leaving the building, he didn't seem upset that I followed him, probably expected a typical encounter with an obsessive fan. When I mentioned the last episode though, all colour drained from his face, and he started trembling. When I asked him if he could tell me any details, he sounded like he was on the verge of tears. He grabbed a piece of paper and wrote something on it, and handed it to me. He begged me never to mention the episode again. The piece of paper had a website address on it. I would rather not say what it was, for reasons you'll see in a second. I entered the address into my browser and came up to a site that was completely black, except for a line of yellow text, a download link. I clicked on it and a file started downloading. Once the file was downloaded, my computer went crazy. It was the worst virus I had ever seen. The system restore didn't work. The entire computer had to be rebooted. Before doing this though, I copied the file onto a CD. I tried to open it on my now empty PC, and as I suspected, there was an episode of The Simpsons on it. The episode started off like any other episode, but had very poor quality animation. If you've seen the original animation for Some Enchanted Evening, it was similar but less stable. The first act was very normal, but the way the characters acted was a little off. Homer seemed angrier, Marge seemed depressed, Lisa seemed anxious, and Bart seemed to have a genuine anger and hatred for his parents. The episode was about the Simpsons going on a plane trip near the end of the first act. The plane was taking off. Bart was fooling around as you would expect. However, as the plane was about 50 feet off the ground, Bart broke a window on the plane and was sucked out. At the beginning of this series, Matt had an idea that the animated style of The Simpsons will represent life, and that death turned things more realistic. This was used in this episode. The picture of Bart's corpse was barely recognizable. They took full advantage of it not having to move, and made an almost photorealistic drawing of his dead body. Act 1 ended with a shot of Bart's corpse. When Act 2 started, Homer, Marge and Lisa were sitting at their table, crying. The crying went on and on. It got more pained and sounded more realistic. Better acting than you would think possible. The animation started to decay even more as they cried, and you could hear mumbling in the background. This crying went on for all of Act 2. Act 3 opened with a title card saying 1 year had passed. Homer, Marge and Lisa were skeletary thin and still sitting at the table. There's no sign of Maggie or the pets. They decided to visit Bart's grave. Springfield was completely deserted, and as they walked to the cemetery, the houses became more and more decrepit. They all looked abandoned. When they got to the grave, Bart's body was just lying in front of the tombstone, looking just like it did at the end of Act 1. The family started crying again. Eventually they stopped and just stared at Bart's body. The camera zoomed in on Homer's face. According to the summaries, Homer tells a joke at this part, but it isn't audible in this version. I saw you can't tell what Homer's saying. You zoomed out as the episode came to a close. The tombstones in the background had the names of every Simpsons guest star on them. Some that no one had heard of in 1989. Some that haven't even been on the show yet. All of them had death dates on them for guests who died since, like Michael Jackson, George Harrison. The dates were when they would die. You could try to use the tombstones to predict the death of living Simpsons guest stars, but there's something odd about most of the ones who haven't died yet. All of their deaths are listed as the same day.
Ooh. So that was the story of Dead Bart. And Knuckles, you have Luke's arse in your face. Oh, Luke, get out of the way, bro! Hold on, let me just nudge him for you, Knuckles. Just nudge him off. Ah, get off me! Damn, you wrecked my shoes. So what do you guys think of that, then?
Oh, that was, shocking.
Yeah, I didn't expect Bart to fall out the plane. Same. Hold on, why was he messing around on a plane for? How was I meant to know? I'm only reading the damn story, man. Damn. But okay, so the next one is going to be Super Mario 128. So it's a creepypasta based on a scrapped Mario game that was meant to happen, basically the sequel to Mario 64.
Okay.
Got scrapped. Ooh, okay. Okay. Well, I think there was a sequel meant to be planned for it. Yeah, there was, but I don't know if it's super creepypasta is true or not, but they scrapped it for some unknown reasons, right? Luke, are you gonna listen to this one, or are you just gonna... Well, you can't really go up there, because, you know, reasons. Don't look at me like that. I know, you can't go up there. Alright. So now it's the story of... Oh, man! Luke! So now I'm gonna read you Super Mario 128. That was the actual name for the game. That was meant to be thing. So, are you guys ready for the second story?
Yep.
Yep. Right, let's get to it. So, this is Super Mario 128.
Mario has been a gaming icon for decades and has been in more games that can be counted. Although no year in recent memory has gone past without some type of Mario game being released, series fans will remember the nearly decade-long drought of original Mario platformers. From 1997 to 2005, there was only one new Mario platformer released, Super Mario Sunshine. During the second part of this drought, after Sunshine's release, the mysterious Super Mario 128 was the main focus of the fanbase. No concrete information was given on the game, and eventually series creator Shigeru Miyamoto claimed it just had been a series of test concepts that never intended to be an actual game. The mystery faded from memory as the Mario drought finally ended, and most people forgot about the game that had once been at the centre of every Mario's fan imagination. The Mario drought corresponded with a bad era of Nintendo in terms of console sales. The Nintendo 64 and GameCube did not have the same financial success of the early Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo, all the way to Wii. For a very proud company that relied solely on video games to make money, this was quite upsetting for the higher ranking employees that were attached to the company and felt its success or failure reflected on them personally. Nintendo started working on a sequel to the 1996 Super Mario 64 shortly after the game was released, but during the late 90s it became clear that Nintendo was not winning a console war. The Super Mario 64 sequels that restarted from scratch, since the company believed it was not substantial enough to improvement over the original to turn the tides of the market battle. Seeing the generally more realistic and violent games on Sony's PlayStation, the market leader, Nintendo considered making a Mario that was closer in tone to what the public seemed to want. There was quite a bit of internal conflict over how far to go with this new direction, and the new Mario was clearly not going to be ready until Nintendo's next console, the GameCube. The only hint of this that was released to the public was a comment by Miyamoto that he thought Mario and Luigi should act more like grown-ups in their games for the soon-to-be-released GameCube. The new Mario project was ultimately split into two games, Luigi's Mansion, which reflected the darker tone that many felt the series should turn to, although it still toned down quite a bit compared to what some Nintendo executives and developers wanted, and Super Mario Sunshine, which went in the complete opposite direction. Both were released within a year of the GameCube, and Nintendo felt confident that their new system and Mario games would return them to their former glory as market leader. As those familiar with gaming history knows, they didn't. The GameCube did even worse in market shares than the Nintendo 64, and the mass market taste shifted even more forward violent, realistic games. During this period, the somber mood at Nintendo intensified as the darker Mario project was revived, this time codenamed Super Mario 128. This isn't clear exactly what happened at Nintendo during this period. As we know, nothing called Super Mario 128 was ever released or publicly shown. The source that revealed the internal strife at Nintendo during the later N64 era refused to discuss what was happening during the time of the GameCube's failure, but released a prototype of Super Mario 128 online that can be played on the Wii's homebrew channel. The The following is a recollection of my time playing it. The game was clearly an early beta. The title screen was nothing but a white text saying Super Mario 128 against a black background. There was no options, menus or save file selection. Either after the title screen, the game started. Bowser's Wrath from Super Mario 64 looped in the background, while a plain text box displayed this dialogue. Mario, I have taken Princess Peach, and she will not live to see the sunrise tomorrow, unless you take her place. You know what to do and where to go. Do not try to stop me, unless you want to hasten her death. The game certainly was going for a darker tone. After I made the text box go away, I was thrust right into the gameplay. The first thing I noticed was Mario's character model. His body was as detailed as Super Mario's Galaxy, although a little more realistic prototyped, but his head was taken from his Super Mario 64 character model. Obviously his design wasn't finished yet. The setting was a sky level. There were some simple platforms floating in the air. The rest of the area was just blue sky with several crowds surrounding it in the background. The crowd seemed more realistic than the usual cartoony puffs in Mario games. They were quite graphically impressive. There was no music or full voice samples for Mario, but there were a few effects / grunts when he jumped. The jumping was more subdued than in other Mario games. Mario didn't jump as high as he usually did, and had little control of his movement in the air. The different types of jumps in every 3D Mario weren't present. I played through the level. There was nothing especially notable about the gameplay. Enemies didn't seem to have been added yet. I just jumped from platform to platform, and it wasn't very challenging. As I went through the level, I noticed the graphics gradually changing. The sky became more and more cloudy until it was entirely composed of clouds, and the cloud's background gradually turned into a dark grey. After this, it started to rain. I reached a small platform with a toad on it. It looks like the Super Mario Galaxy model. When I landed on his platform, dialogue appeared. We don't want you anymore, Mario. You don't belong here. Just give Bowser what he wants. Die. After the text box went away, I had no longer control of Mario. Mario just stood there for a while, then turned around and walked off the platform. His body seemed to go limp as he fell. Eventually it was revealed that there was a realistic modern city under the sky. The buildings were neglected, but there were still people in the streets. Mario hit the ground with a realistic sounding thud, but he didn't explode or show any visible wounds. He just laid there. The people in the city just kept walking by ignoring Mario, although I thought I saw a few glances at him with cold, somewhat angry expressions. This went on for a few minutes and eventually people stopped appearing. Mario got up. I was back in control, but he couldn't jump and had reduced walking speed. Large buildings of the city didn't appear to be interactive, so I just kept walking down the street for a while. Eventually I found a small house that seemed out of place among the larger buildings. When I approached the door, Mario opened it. The screen went white and some black text appeared. House of Torn Memories. This seemed to be the level title. When I pressed a button, the screen faded back to Mario. He was inside the house from before. Everything seemed bigger than it should. It wasn't gigantic but scaled as if Mario was a very small child. The house was filled with normal objects covered in dust and signs of neglect. There were no people on the ground floor, just things like broken lamps and rotten food. I found a door that opened to our set of stairs going down, leading to a basement. In the basement I found a couch and a broken TV. However, what really caught my attention was that what's on the couch were two skeletons that appeared to be children judging by their size. Due to the scale of the house, they were still larger than Mario. I was starting to get very disturbed by now. How had a Mario game containing this been programmed to this extent? I went up to the skeletons and tried pressing buttons to interact with them or the TV, but nothing seemed to happen. I was about to turn around and look elsewhere when I heard I was nearly scared to death by a deafeningly loud crash coming from the game. What appeared to be Bowser seemed to have broken through the floor from below and landed in front of Mario. I say appeared to be because this wasn't nothing like the way Bowser is usually rendered. The monster in the game had Bowser's basic brownish and yellow and green colour pattern, but looked far more threatening than any Bowser model I had seen before. It was not the Bowser I knew. Its arms and legs were way longer in relation to its body, and ended in razor-sharp claws. The green shells didn't look like it had spikes glued on. They were more jagged and organic looking, with the same dark green colour the rest of the shell had. The face had small but intense pure black eyes, and a mouthful of jagged teeth that took up far more of the face than it should have. Mario was cowering in fear from this thing. A dialogue box appeared. "You've kept me waiting long enough, Mario. I will taste fresh soon. Will you finally surrender, or does Peach have to die?" I still didn't have control. Mario just stood there shivering for several seconds before nodding his head. Bowser impaled Mario with his claws. There was no blood, but it was clear from the animation and sound effects that the sharp digits of Bowser's hand had gone through Mario's body. In one swift motion, Bowser dragged Mario up to his face and bit his head off. Again, there was no blood or graphic details left behind on Mario's neck, just Mario's character model being destroyed. The screen faded to black. In white text, another level name appeared: Mario's Eternal Home. Mario's character model was whole again when the level started. It was the only thing on screen besides the black background. It was floating, as if in space. I could somewhat control it, but it felt more like I was deciding the general direction in which Mario would tumble than fully controlling him. As I drifted forwards, no apparent destination, voices faded in. They were echoing, deep voices telling Mario that he was worthless, that the world had no longer had any use for him, and everyone would be better off if he was dead. High-pitched crying was relayed onto the voices. After a bit, it sounded like it was supposed to be Mario's cries. This really disturbed me, and I found myself fighting back tears for reasons I couldn't understand. This was affecting me on an emotional level. The voices and aimless wandering went on for several minutes until I spotted a light grey speck in the distance. I moved towards it. It took a very long time to reach, and grew closer at a much slower rate than it should have. When I was close enough to make it out, I saw that it was a tombstone. It was a very plain one with cracks in several places. When I got right next to the tombstone, I could see writing on it. I turned off the system right after reading it. I'm not going to play the beta or hack or whatever this was again. There was a single word written on the tombstone: innocence.
So yeah, that was the story of Super Mario 128. Knuckles looks like he enjoyed that one.
Damn! Oh, hey, Sonic.
Seriously, Tails.
Sorry.
But damn that. So what do you guys think of that then?
I couldn't believe he was able to do them. Wow.
Well, I can't believe when Bowser ate Mario's head off. Yeah, that was a bit gruesome, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a bit... He kind of went a bit over the rails there, Bowser did.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's ready for the final story of the night. Sonic.exe. Seriously, reading that again, bro. Fam, I like that story, leave me alone. What you like? Well, it's not the worst story ever, is it? I've read worse. I've played Sonic 06, so shut up. Okay, so now it's time. So I'm reading Sonic.exe again, but I know I've read it like so many times on my channel and stuff like that, but yeah, I just thought why not to go for a spooky kind of thing for related to you three nutters for to wrap up this year's Halloween. Right, so now as you guys can get comfortable, so well, I'll read the story of Sonic.exe. Basically, if you don't know, is basically like a demon version of Sonic going a bit mad. So just gonna just basically talk about that for a minute. Okay, so without further ado, let's head to the last story of the episode, Sonic.exe. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hack games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had.
It started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed. I liked how you get to explore the towns in it, until I noticed out of my peripheral vision that the mailman had arrived and put something in my mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what I got in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note. First I realised it was from my dear friend Kyle, who I've not heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognised his handwriting, though what was weird is how it looked. It looked badly written and scratchy and somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time with writing it down and did it in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing somehow before it was too late, and I was hoping you'll do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me, and if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc, and you'll destroy him, but do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Don't even play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please, Kyle. Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend, and I have not seen him for 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him, right? After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc, and it looked like any ordinary computer CD-R disc, except it had a black mark written on it, Sonic.exe. And it was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from somewhere else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the line of the CD, I was excited and wanted to play it, since I am a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on the computer. I put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed that it was the first Sonic game. I was like, awesome, because like I said earlier, I like the classics. The first thing I noticed was out of place is when I hit start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different, something that I now consider horrifying, before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red, like blood, but it looked hyper-realistic. But the freakiest thing that was in that split-second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding with 2 glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wide at the side of his face. I was rather disturbed about that image when I saw it, though I figured it was just a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed like that for about 10 seconds or so, and then another weird thing happened. The save files thread from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up, and I was like, what the hell? What was this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyway, then I noticed something off. The background was that dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD, and there were only 3 save files. The music was that creepy Caverns of Winter music from Earthbound, only it was extended and seemed to have been in the reverse. And the image for the save file, when you see a preview of the level you're on, is just red static for all 3 files. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game, for crying out loud? And that's when I realised that this wasn't a glitchy game, it was a hacked game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared, or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game and there was nothing wrong with that. Anyway, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked Fire 1 and chose Tails. And when I selected it and got started, the game froze for about 5 seconds and I heard a creepy pixelated laugh. That sounded like an awful lot like that Kefka guy from Final Fantasy, before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more, then it showed a typical level tile thing, except the simplistic shapes with different shades of red, and the text only showed Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in the Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different now. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyway, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any of the classic Sonic games. But what was odd was, as that Tails was running through the level, there was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to slow down into slow, deep tones very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and I stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground, bleeding. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face that I never saw him have before. So I had to move along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried as the music lowers, and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged on a tree, with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all four of his limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there was no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped. I still kept Tails to continue. After a minute passed, the music stopped. Tails was running up a hill, then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there, on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails, with his eyes closed. Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faded away. Obviously noticed that Sonic wasn't responding to him, if not acting like he was totally oblivious to Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to be a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feeling of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt like Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder as Tails was but inches away from Sonic and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, I saw Sonic's eyes open, and they were black with those glowing red dots, just like that tile image, though there was no smile. Then that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for about 7 seconds, and then white text appeared foaming a message saying,
"Hello, do you want to play with me?"
At this point I was creeped out. I didn't want to continue with the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level, with the level title now saying Hide and Seek. This time I was in the Angel Island level from Sonic 3, and it looked like everything was on fire. Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures to me as he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as he could. A pixel 8 version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from Sonic Adventure 2 was playing as I made Tails trek through the desolated forest, trying to help him escape from whatever he was trying to run from. I suddenly heard that creepy laugh again, that awful Kefka laugh. Right after 10 seconds had passed, I helped Tails run through the forest, and then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping everywhere on the screen, again with those black and red eyes. The music changed to a suspenseful drowning jingle as I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gaining up on him, flying. Sonic wasn't running, he was flying. The flying pose his sprite was making looked very familiar to Metal Sonic's flying pose in Sonic CD, except it was just Sonic, and he had those black and red eyes again, only this time he had the most deranged looking grin on his face. He looked like he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, the music stopped as Sonic vanished. Tails just laid there. and started to cry for 15 seconds. The scene was rather upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails. Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down those bracket eyes of Sonic as a grin slowly grew from his face. As he looked down on the horrified Fox, I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged in Tails right before the screen went black. There was a loud screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, but only it said,
You're too slow. Wanna try again?
and then that god awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what just happened. Did Sonic murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails are supposed to be best friends, right? Why did Sonic do that to him? I shook the shock off as I was brought back to the counter select. The safe out that had Tails was different. Tails was no longer in the box itself, but in the TV screen itself, which was flickering with red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding, his orange fur had gone black, and he had an expression of anguish on his face. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. That laugh came again, and the screen cut to black again, and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said,
You can't run.
I was really freaked out by now. I couldn't really tell if it was a glitch, or a hack, or some kind of sick twisted joke, or anything really. But despite my fear of what happened next, I kept playing. The level looked much different than it had. The ground was of the scrap rain zone, but the sky background looks like the main menu. It had the darkest reddish cloudy sky, but it was the music that's creeped me out the most. It sounded like Geiger's theme right before you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I also noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails, but not as much. More rather, he looked a little unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails did. He wasn't sure about going on, but I made him move anyway. He ran down the straight pathway in his dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple of times, and then that mattering laugh came again. Then after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down this blood-stained road, but I still kept him going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When the static vanished, showing nothing but black text. The text saying,
Found you.
I was now scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyway, red static came again, and then I was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking, and Sonic was nowhere to be found. And this time, that high-pitched squealing from the Siren Hill 1 final boss was playing. Was it some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hope to God it wasn't, honestly. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right in front of Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could even land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again, then Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles again, and I made him punch again. But Sonic kept vanishing, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and he even felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was practically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted little mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene appeared as Knuckles fell on his knees, crushed his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was actually driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted, screeching noise that lasted for about 3 seconds. Another text message appeared.
So many souls to play with. So little time. Would you agree?
What the hell? Just what is going on? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time, the second save file box had Knuckles in the TV screen. His red fur had darkened to a reddish grey, his dreadlocks were dripping blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too, and he had a look of sadness on his face. I began to think that those were the actual characters trapped in those TV screens, and find the save files, but I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. So I shut off the game and took a break. I took a nap. Wish I hadn't, because I then began to have the most disturbing nightmare. I was in pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like,
Help us. And why did you give us to him? And run away, before he gets you too.
Their cries died out, and then I heard Sonic laugh again. His laugh. It sounded a lot like that distorted Kefka laugh.
You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long.
I was scared and looking around for the source of the voice.
Won't be long now until you join him, and all my other friends.
I saw him, walking towards me, flickering in and out in several directions.
You can't run, kid. You're in my world now, just like the others.
When he grabbed me and I saw his bleeding black and red-eyed grinning face, I woke up with a fright. After a couple hours, I decided to continue with the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out why this was happening. So I turned on the computer, turned on the game, and selected Robotnik next. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik, but anyway, the level tile appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found very freaky. This time I was in some kind of hallway. Didn't really look like it was from any of the classic Sonic games, though it had the pixelated style. The floor was a shiny and checkered, the walls were a dark greyish purple with animated candlelights, and a few dark blood stains here and there. And there was a dark red curtain hanging above on the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly present, a piano playing in a rather sad yet peaceful tone. But I knew better. This was a song that played in Hill Act 1, only it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Tails and Knuckles did, but he did have a very suspicious look on his face, as if he was just a bit paranoid. He did a little animation when I left him standing. He turned his head left and then he turned it to the right, at least twice, and then shrugs at me, as if he had no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going to happen, how did Robotnik continue onwards? He did his usual running animation, you know when you've beaten him at the end of a classic Sonic game and you chase him. As we continued going through the hallway, then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downwards. Now I was nervous. Even Robotnik wasn't even sure about going on, but I pressed forward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed that the walls had gone darker, more reddish. The torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed onto another hallway. This one was a lot longer than the last one, or at least it felt like it. And then we headed down another flight of stairs down. This one was much longer. It took at least 1 full minute. And then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again, and then the music slowly faded until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned more dark red, and the torches were now a black flame. When Robotnik landed onto the third hallway, I noticed he now looked really creeped out, though he tried to hide it. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles, and then the red static lasted for about 15 seconds, and then it showed me the most unpleasant image. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness where you can only see his face, while his head and torso fading into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean he looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, and if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh god, he had the most horrifying smile I'd ever seen, and that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes were wide and black, and once again crying blood, which also looked hyper-realistic. and there was 2 small red dots in his black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was wide and demonic. It literally stretched to the side of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like the werewolf's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellowish, and from the look of it, he had the stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips and fangs, as if he ate some animal. I stared at that gruesome image for a good 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off it. I felt as if he was actually looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to edge itself into my mind and my brain for good. Then the screen flickered with red static again 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefgaraf, except this time it sounded distorted, demonic even. It went back to the image again, except this time there was the text again, though it was messed up. It was one of the most horrifying things I've looked at since I've had this game.
I am God.
It was when I read that image while looking at Sonic. When it hit me, I realised it right there and then. This Sonic was a monster, a pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster, and all of his victims, including Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and possibly Kyle, are just his little toys, and the game is the very gateway to his chaotic and nightmarish world, and the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in an actual split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open to an unnatural length, revealing nothing but a literal spiraling abyss of pure darkness, before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the red static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but black screen. As I sat there, staring at the black screen, one last text came up.
Ready for round 2, Tom?
The Kefgaraf, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played again 3 times as I looked at that text in shock and confusion. Then I got booted back to the main menu, and this time the 3rd save file had a TV image of Robotnik in the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull grey, his moustache drooped, and is blackened, and his glasses broke, and blood coming from them, and he had a mere dead expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and I cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were forever trapped within the game, forever tormented by the horrid hedgehog, and always will be. Then the computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on no matter what I did. I sat there for maybe 25 seconds, horrified by what just happened. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who plays his game in more ways than one, and when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you, always, as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck in there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice behind me, like a whisper.
Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom.
I turned around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling, with bloodstains under its eyes.
I am God.
Was the story of Sonic.exe, and that it was the final story of the video, I guess.
Sonic?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Why did you do those things?
Damn, it wasn't me, it was a demon possessed my body, relax.
Okay. Just...
Yeah, I actually thought it was you.
Well, the story didn't really make it obvious that you were possessed. Yeah. They basically kind of made it think that it was actually me. Yeah. Well, you, Tails, and Eggman kind of got the short end of the stick there. Yeah, now we got turned into some EXE ripoffs. Well, you kind of did. Like when EXE kind of broke out Sonic's computer and all that stuff on his channel, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of this episode here. So yeah, I want to say thank you to Andrew, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Elliot for joining me today. You're welcome, bro.
Yay!
Woohoo! But yeah, yeah, this wasn't. Who just? I think Harry just died.
That was Andrew.
Was it?
What?
It sounded like you for a second there.
He just yeah.
I thought it was Elliot then. But yeah, next episode be back to normal. But don't worry, there'll be an episode coming out tomorrow for some. Yeah, because it's, yeah, you get the picture. Because it's coming out on the Monday, it'll be out. Yeah, you get the picture. You'll know. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this Halloween special here. Don't get too scared. I'm gonna head to sleep. Don't get too scared, everyone. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of this episode here. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.